Hello, this is Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and I'm coming to you today with a Hebrew reading for the month of Av and the constellation of Leo. And to that end, we're going to look at two different tarot cards for you to choose from today, talking about the strength, because that is the lion in the tarot. We have the golden Botticelli deck with this strength card. And we have the Rider-Waite Smith Tarot with this strength card. So take a moment to look and feel into the cards and just determine which of these two strength cards is calling to you today. I'll put the timestamps down below for the Golden Botticelli and the Rider-Waite Smith deck, and I will look forward to seeing you in your reading. Hello, card number one. Those of you who chose the Golden Botticelli deck, this is what your strength card looks like. We have our lion, who is representing Leo here today. You can see the golden mane and the mouth that is being held closed by our strength maiden here. She is represented with a lily. She's using the lily to tame the lion here. And you'll see that she has the infinity loop above her head, as is common in the strength card. But what's interesting about this particular deck is that the strength is the number 11 in this deck. And in other decks, it is the number 8. So I find that really interesting. There's a lot of symbology that goes with the color of clothing in typical art of Botticelli. This one is wearing a blue cloak, which represents heaven, and a red undergarment, which represents carnal nature and carnal desires. And that lily has a lot of other representations. It's the flower that is offered to the Madonna when she becomes pregnant in her virginal state. So I'm not sure what the green represents. Generally, there's a white cloak over the top, but here she's kind of got this brownish green cloak, which feels like earth to me. So here's our lion. He's looking a little thin. Actually, you can see his ribs right through his skin. He's looking quite tame. So strength, the Leo constellation is frequently about personality and flamboyancy and strength, but strength in this case is represented by the woman on this card, and she's taming the lion, the animal in this depiction. So I don't know how that will speak to you today or how that's going to come out in our reading, but we'll go with it. I'm going to set our strength card off to the left here, and we're going to take our bowl of Hebrunes. Actually, I think I'm going to tuck this candle up high. We're going to pull out some Hebrunes and see what our reading says today. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Nun. I'll set that right there. In the lower right, we have the letter Resh. On the lower left, we have the letter Vav. The bottom of our reading, we have the Ein Sof. Upper left is the Lamed. Upper right is the letter He. So each of these positions has a different representation in the readings. And for me, when I read with the Mogen David, the Star of David spread, I start at the top, and that represents what is coming down from the heavens, what is coming down from the divine for our information and knowledge today. And we have the letter Nun. at the top here. And this is a sort of stylized one. I made this set. So the letter Nun, and on the back of each of these I have the Paleo Hebrew as well. So this is what the Paleo Hebrew looks like, sort of like a snake of some sort. So the letter Nun represents humility, and it is the first letter of the word Ne'aman, which means humbleness. So coming down from the top, we have this call to humility, about bending over and being subdued. And I see that in the tarot card of the strength here, and for the lion. This lion is being subdued in this same way that it is being humbled. So there's something coming down from divinity that is saying it's time to humble ourselves. And we'll read further and see what else comes up around that. So that's our top letter coming down from above. In the lower right letter, this is what is known about the situation, and we have the letter Resh. Resh is the first letter of the word Rosh. It means head and a beginning, a new beginning. And this is what it looks like in the Proto-Hebrew. Looks like a head. So something new is beginning, and that's what we know about our situation here, that there's something new that is coming in, a new beginning. And interestingly, also the Rosh, the Resh, which is the head, the Rosh, looks bowed here. So there's a bowing of the head, so more humility here. Something we know about our situation is that a new beginning is happening, and we need to remain humble in the sight of that. What is unknown about our situation is the letter Vav. And the letter Vav is the letter which means connection. It's about standing tall and remaining connected to oneself and to the divine, planting oneself in the earth and reaching up with connection for divinity. Vav is the letter that means and in Hebrew. So what we don't see here is connection. Something that we're not seeing is that there's connection happening despite our inability to see it, perhaps. At the bottom of our reading, we have what is our foundation here, what's coming up from beneath, what's supporting us in this, and what is the foundation or the beginning of this. And we have the Ein Sof. Ein Sof means that without end. So it speaks to the boundlessness or the endlessness of all things, that blank page onto which all things are written. So what's supporting us here is the unknown. What's supporting us here is the foundation of blankness, everythingness. Up in the upper left corner, we have the Lamed. This is the position of what is our challenge here. And the challenge is, or fears in the situation, is about Lamed. Lamed is about reaching up with heart. It's the first letter of the word Lev, which means heart-mind. And similar to the Vav, it's about planting oneself in the earth and reaching up for connection with divinity, but with heart. Lamed is also the letter that corresponds to the digestive tract in the body, the intestinal system. And I see that as meaning that we have to take things in and determine what is useful and what is not useful, and how can we make those distinctions and discard what is no longer useful for us. So the challenge here may be connecting with heart to the divine, or connecting with heart to another. Since it's right above the Vav here, it seems to be about connection, but also discerning what is healthy and what is unhealthy, what is feeding us, and what do we need to release in order to be more strong, to be more functional in our situation. And in the upper right corner is what is the outcome given our current circumstances, or our advice for the situation, and we have the letter He. The letter He is the first letter of the word Hineni, and to that I think of it as meaning, here I am showing up and being ready for service to the divine, being present, remaining present for whatever is about to arrive. And so looking at this whole picture here, I see humility several places here. Of course, in the Nun, coming down from above, this idea of what do we need to do to humble ourselves in order to feel strength? Because there's a lot of strength in vulnerability. This card speaks to the character of strength coming in with gentleness and humility in order to tame the beast, to tame the lion. The lion itself, could be seen as vicious or dangerous, but she comes in with humility and is able to tame. Her strength comes from her gentleness. Her strength comes from the ability to, she's using a lily. It's not really a weapon. It's not like a club or a sword. She's using a flower in order to tame the lion. She uses her humility and her gentleness in order to wield her strength, and that her vulnerability is her strength here. There is a new beginning coming in for you, and that's, perhaps the new beginning of the constellation of Leo, the month of Av that has just come in. So something new is happening, and we know that, but we need to, again, meet it with humility, meet it with this bowed head. What we don't see is connection, and when I think about that, when I look at this situation here, this strength character is taming a lion, and so it would be assumed that she is asserting dominance over the lion, that she is maybe opposing the lion. But what this Vav says to me in this position is that what we don't see is the connection between strength of the character and the lion itself. That there is a connection here, that our character of strength is using her gentleness to tame the beast because she's connected to it, because it is part of her. That there is this ultimate connection between all things. That the lion is us, but the strength is also us. That the tools that we use to tame our inner beast come from the divine, but that the inner beast is also the divine, and that the strength that we use to tame things is also the divine. So there's a connection here, even if we can't see it. A lot of times we look at something where something is wielding power over another, and we see them as opposites, contradictory. But I see them as intricately connected here, intrinsically connected. What's underneath it all is the infinite that is the divine, the power of the divine. And as I said, you can see at the top, we have the infinity loop over the head of strength. That is what gives us our strength. Can you see that here? If I turn it just right, you can see it glistening in the gold here. We have the infinity loop. And that's what the Ein Sof represents, the infinite, that which is unseen and unknown, but that which drives us all, that which is the beginning and the foundation of all things, that we came from this place of nothingness and we return to this place of nothingness. And that is the foundation of our strength. It's the foundation of our ability to tame what's within us, understanding that we come from the infinite and we return to the infinite. And if we can remember that, that'll give us the strength to tame that which needs to be tamed. Our challenge here, of course, is coming into it with heart, coming into it with gentleness and peace, coming into it with love, having heart and love toward that which we are attempting to tame, that we don't need to hate a thing in order to calm it, that we don't need to, in fact, that would make it impossible for us to calm it if we did not have a love for the thing that we are attempting to bring peace to. It would make it impossible for us to bring that peace, because we cannot bring peace to a situation if we don't come with peace in our hearts. But that's the challenge here. How do we ground ourselves? How do we reach up with heart toward divinity? How do we take in the information we need to take in, digest it, and know what's going to nourish us and what we need to release? And our outcome here is the hay meaning presence, remaining present, staying with the lion as long as we need to for it to feel safe with us, so that we can assert our strength with gentleness, with humility, with heart, in order to remain present, to find divinity within our situation. I'm going to pull out one more Hebrew here for the center of our reading to give us just a little bit more information. And we have the letter Gimel. The letter Gimel is the letter that represents a foot or a camel. So it's about forward movement. You can see it looks a little bit like a foot stepping forward. And it is the binary transformation of peace and evil. Peace, which is the word in Hebrew is shalom, which means wholeness. And the opposite of wholeness is translated as evil, but I think of it as brokenness. Those are the oppositions, that we have wholeness and brokenness. How can we find wholeness? And what can we recognize as being broken right now? What do we need to tame in order to find wholeness again and peace again? Because the whole point of strength is to embody our strength toward justice. Gimel rules over the planet Jupiter in the sky, and the planet Jupiter in Hebrew is translated tzedek, which means justice. So righteousness. How can we step forward toward justice? Not wielding strength for the purpose of power, but using our strength to bring about wholeness and peace. Using our strength with humility, with heart, to move toward connection, even if it's unseen, to tap into the infinite in order to come to a place of connection and presence with the divine. So for those of you who chose the Strength card from the Botticelli Tarot, this has been your reading for the first week of the month of Av and the constellation Leo as we move into this hottest time of the year, this fiery time with the lion and all the things that come up that we may need to tame right now. Use your humility, use your heart, step forward toward justice, and come to a place of presence. Shavua Tov, and I will see you here next time. Hello, card number 2. Those of you who chose the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot Strength card, this is your card, and you can see that we have the lion and the maiden dressed in white, who is gently closing the mouth of the lion to tame that beast. You can see in the background a blue mountain and greenery all about. You can see that the Strength character has a chain of flowers around her waist. And she has the crown of flowers on her head, as well as the infinity symbol above her head. And she looks very calm in her process of taming the lion. And the Strength card in the traditional tarot is the number 8. 8, which is that infinity loop that looks like the eternal here. This card is, your traditional Rider-Waite-Smith tarot with the traditional symbology. So we're going to pull out some Hebrunes, and we'll set her off to the side here. And we're going to lay down 6 in the shape of a Mogen David, the Star of David. Let's start out. At the top, we have the letter Resh. Ooh. This one fell on the floor. We're going to assume that that's the next one. It goes down in the lower right corner. We have the letter Vav. Next, we have the letter Aleph. At the bottom of our star, we have the letter Pei. These are all jumping out. Up upper left corner, we have the letter Lamed. And in the upper right corner, we have the letter Ayin. There's my chime. That comes to remind us that the divine is here with us. I have that set on a random setting that it just rings now and again. Lovely to know. So this is very interesting reading in that it's very similar to the first reading in different letters, some of the same letters, some of the same letters in the same place, many different letters, but with similar meanings in the same positions. So at the top of our reading, it's coming down from divinity, we have the letter Resh. And the letter Resh is the first letter of the word Rosh, which means head. So a new beginning is coming in. The head is bowed, so it speaks to humility. It is the word Resh shows up in the first word of Torah, Bereshit, in the beginning. So it's about beginnings and newness. It is the binary transformation of seed and barrenness. And it's about, the beginning of a thing, Rosh Chodesh, the new moon, Rosh Hashanah, the new year, and a bowed head. It rules over the planet Mercury in the sky, so it can have to do with communication as well. And it's because it is the head, it has to do with intellect. So something about the head and a new beginning and intellect is coming down from the heavens now. This lower right corner is the position of what is known about our situation. And we have the letter Vav. The letter Vav is the letter that means and in Hebrew. It is about connection. So we know there's something up about connection. It's about unity with divinity. It's about standing tall, but again with a slightly bowed head at the top. It's about joining heaven and earth. And it's about the 6 days of creation. It is the number 6 in Gematria. So what's known about our situation is that something is almost finished, that we have this number 6 here. The final day of active creation. The lower left corner is the position of what is unseen or unknown in our situation. We have the letter Aleph. Aleph being the letter that is number 1 and the oneness of the divine. It also looks like a crossroads. You can see that there's some kind of path here. This Vav that comes through the center is the path, but we have divinity above and divinity below. The Yud, which is the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He. Aleph is the mother letter of air. And to that end, it speaks to breath, being present, taking a deep breath, knowing that all breath comes from the divine. So what's unseen here is this oneness, this connection that we have to divinity, perhaps how the heavens are connected to the earth here. And this idea of liminality, that there's a crossroads perhaps coming in this beginning that we don't see yet. At the very bottom of our reading, that which is the root cause or what is coming up from the earth, we have the letter Pe. And the letter Pe is a mouth. It's about speaking, about the divine speaking creation into existence. And to that end, it speaks. It's interesting. It's right under the Resh. There's a new beginning. Something has been spoken. Something is happening here. It's this mouth, the mouth perhaps that is being held closed by strength here. Pe is also the number 80 in Gematria. So we have that number 8 times 10. We have that idea of the infinite. And because it's 8 times 10, it's this ultimate manifestation of infinity, a spiral that is time, that spirals infinitely in and infinitely out. The manifestation of infinity and time. At the base of our situation here is the infinite. In the upper left corner, we have what we're considering our challenge right now, or possibly a fear in our situation. We have the letter Lamed. Lamed, which is the first letter of the word Lev, meaning heart-mind. And it's about reaching up with heart toward divinity. It's about grounding oneself in the earth, but also reaching up with heart. Lev is the only letter in the alphabet that reaches above the line. It's about learning and teaching, about learning what you need to learn and teaching what you need to teach. It is the intestines in the body, and I see that as being representative of taking in what you need to take in, extracting it for your own use and nourishment, and then letting go of that which you no longer need. And that's true about education, learning, food, emotion, connection with others. So our challenge here is the heart. Our challenge is, how do we use our heart to tame the beast? How do we take in what we need to take in and release what isn't serving us? And our last letter in the reading so far is the Ayin. And the Ayin is in the position of what is the outcome or advice for our situation. And we have this letter, which is one of the silent letters, and interestingly opposite the Aleph, which is the other silent letter. And it means an eye. It means being able to see our way forward and also being watched over by divinity. It's the number 70 in Gematria, and it speaks to that 7 days of creation times 10, so an ultimate manifestation of completion. Something is also coming to an end. We have the beginning with the Resh, and then in this final position in our reading, something is coming to an end as well. Ayin also corresponds to the foundation of laughter. In the Sefer Yetzirah that I read by Rabbi Jill Hammer, it refers to each of the letters corresponding to some foundation, and Ayin represents laughter. And I love that because we have this ending, and sometimes endings can be challenging. But if we can find the humor in the situation or find the punchline to the joke, I love that about the Ayin, that it is this completion, this being able to see, and laughter. And you know, some folks say that the lion is roaring here, but it looks to me a little bit like he's laughing. Like this strength character is trying to hold his mouth closed, and he's just laughing about it. And the strength, you know, she is taming the beast. She's using her humility, again, coming from the Resh, this idea of a bowed head. She's using her humility to tame the beast. But she's finding connection with it. She's finding a way to connect with the lion in such a way that it will not maul her, that she can find peace in this situation. That she knows, maybe in a way that we can't see, that there's oneness in this situation, that we're all one. That infinity loop means that we've all come from the infinite and will return to the infinite. That we have the ability to speak our truth in the world, to speak what we need to speak, to follow that labyrinth through time, from the infinite to the infinite. And even if we're having challenges with heart, maybe if we're having challenges with connecting with heart or discerning what is appropriate for us to hold on to and what we need to let go of, that in the final run we will find our way to a place of being able to see our way forward, to know that we're watched over by divinity, and find laughter in the situation at the end. I'm going to pull out one more Hebrune to put in the center of our reading, just as a further information as we contemplate strength and the Leo constellation. And the letter that's coming out is the letter Zayin. Zayin is the number 7 in Gematria, so we're back to another ending. Something is coming to an end. That's what we need to look forward to, is that we have found a way to use our strength to tame the beast. And this beginning at the top is coming to an end here through that spiral linear time. Zayin is a sword or a scepter. So it's about sovereignty. It's about personal sovereignty and completion and magic. 7 is a magical number. It's often seen as a lucky number. And it speaks to the 7th day of creation, which is Shabbat, and the Shabbat bride, who is Shekhinah, the one who gives us strength, the one who is represented frequently by this female character who is able to tame the beast, that's able to tame whatever it is that is troubling us, maybe the one who watches over us as well, the one. So in the final position, we have this idea of sword and scepter, this idea of completion, this idea of rest at the end, Shabbat, when we come back around at the end of the week, on the 7th day, we get to come to a place of rest, that we don't have to struggle anymore with the lion, that lion will lie down with us, that we'll find a place of strength so that we can come to completion. So although there's a beginning, and we know there's a connection, what we can't see possibly is the oneness. We can speak into creation what we'd like to see, lean into the infinite. And if we're struggling with heart, if we're struggling with connection or discernment, know that we're being watched over, that something is coming to an ultimate completion, and that we will find rest in the end. So for those of you who chose the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot card of strength today to represent our Leo, our new month of Av, this has been your reading. I hope you enjoyed it. Shavua Tov, and I'll see you here next time.